Good day to everyone. Today we will see how to wire the control circuit of the star delta starter using magnetic contactors and a timer. First of all, we take one magnetic contactor with overload relay and is the main contactor to operate the motor. Then, two more contactors needed for star and delta running of this motor. On the far left, you will find one MCB and is to connect the control circuit with single-phase 230 volt supply. You need to get this 230 volt supply also through the three-phase MCCB of the motor itself to make sure all the connections will be isolated with the operation of one breaker for safety reasons. Timer for the star delta operation is shown on the far right. Then we have the start and stop push buttons. Start button is a normally open switch and stop button is a switch with normally closed contact points. First, we will take phase wire of the single-phase connection through the MCB and connect it to the normally closed contact point of the thermal overload relay. Control system supply line needs to be started through this point first and will make sure that the circuit will be isolated at this point if the overload relay detects any fault on the motor. Then connect other side of the NC contact to the normally closed stop button switch. Through the stop button, connect the control line to one end of normally open start push button. From the start push button, line need to be connected to the A1, that is the main contactor operating coil supply. Then, A2 of the main contactor coil supply need to be connected to the neutral line of the single phase 230 volt supply. Main contactor is still at the off position, and we will switch on the control circuit MCB now. Then, when you push the start button, main contactor operating coil gets power supply and is now at on position. This will allow three-phase power to pass through its main contact points, that is, from L1, L2, and L3 to T1, T2, and T3. But you will see one issue here. If you release the start push button now, control circuit breaks from there, and control power connection stops to the main contactor operating coil. To avoid this, we use normally open auxiliary contact point of the main contactor, which is at closed position now. Through this closed auxiliary contact points, additional power path is created from the left side terminal of the start push button switch to A1 of main contactor. Now you can release the pushed start button back to normally open position, but the additional power path created will keep the main contactor energized. We need to supply control power to the timer now, and both highlighted points can be used for this purpose. So, the control power line is connected to the A1 of the timer. A2 of it is to be connected to the neutral line, as shown here. Further, from A1, we need to connect power to number 15 and 25, and those 2 points act as power inlet lines to the star and delta timer switching mechanism. Terminals 18 and 28 here are the power outlet points to the star and delta contactors respectively, and will be different for a different brand of timer. You need to read the timer operation catalog first for any brand and make sure the correct terminals are wired accordingly. Now we take connection out from terminal 18 of the timer, which is for star connection, and bring it to the normally closed auxiliary contact point of delta contactor. NC auxiliary contact points of both star and delta contactors are shown here with green color, and also both contactors are at off position still. Now, through the normally closed contact point, power line is connected to A1 of star contactor. Why we take control power line of star contactor through the normally closed contact point of delta contactor? This will make star contactor to receive power only when delta contactor is at off position. This is called interlocking of contactors and is done for safety reasons to make sure only the required contactor will operate at any given time. To complete the circuit, A2 of the star contactor is connected to the neutral line. You will see now, the star contactor gets power and will allow three-phase power to the motor through its main contact points. Generally, three-phase induction motors need only few seconds to run with star connection, and as soon as the motor reaches 75 to 80% of its full speed, star connection can be changed to delta connection. You will see now, star contactor is switched off and is done according to the timer setting for star contactor running. Also, you will see here, delta contactor didn't get power yet, although the star contactor is at off position. This very short delay period is called pause time and is set from the timer for safety reasons to delay starting of delta contactor, avoiding any short circuit between these two contactors. So, after this pause time, that is between 50 to 150 milliseconds generally, delta contactor gets power from the terminal 28 of the timer. This line 2 goes through the normally closed auxiliary contact points of star contactor first, and then onto the A1 of the delta contactor. To complete the circuit on delta contactor, A2 needs to be connected to the neutral line. You will see now, delta contactor is switched on, and its NC contact 2 becomes open at the same time. Motor will receive three-phase power through the main contact points of delta contactor now. This motor will continue to operate through the delta contactor till you operate the stop push button to stop the motor. Let's push the stop button now, and you will see delta contactor is switched off along with the main contactor, stopping the motor operation. Even if you release the stop push button now, main contactor will not receive power again, since auxiliary contact has gone to its normally open position back. If you want to start this motor again, you have to push the start button first to power up the A1-A2 coil of main contactor. Then, the control power cycle will repeat, as I explained here. Hope you got fair idea now on how the star delta control circuit is wired, and also how it operates a three-phase induction motor. If you think that this video is helpful, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.